We all want to be perfectionists, and I still have that problem with me today.
And you know what we'll do when I hit record?
What?
We're just gonna start talking. Ooh. Oh boy. Can you hear me?
Maybe.
Are you ready to say words with me for some time?
I had to switch over to my webcam because if I look at myself and I see the delay, I'm just gonna wait.
Oh yeah.
It's cool.
Just know it's not delayed on this end at least.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure.
Alrighty, 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome! Round of applause. It's just me though. It's just me. So, no studio audience yet. We're not that big.
Clap.
Yes, golf clap. Andrew, LaughingboyLP is here.
Hello.
Hi, how are
That's
you?
both of my names. Hi.
That's both of your names.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever call you Andy? Or do you hate that?
No. I was just on Tom's stream doing the Pokemon Unite stuff, and somebody was just like, "Is Andy fine?" And I was just kind of like,
Somebody else named Andy here? Hello? Where's the Andy here?
Yeah. And they were like, if you're gonna groan, then we probably shouldn't call you that. And I was like, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't gonna make a fuss, but
That doesn't sound like a common thing that people call you. See, for me, like, nobody calls me Joshua, for example, except for Brooke, and that's it. So, although I did on the phone yesterday, I had to call and book an appointment to get my car taken care of. And on the phone, the guy was like, "What's your name?" And I told him Joshua, and I never say that. I never ever say that.
you're just like on the phone. Wait, can I do that again?
Yeah. Let me try that again. It's Josh. He's like, that's the same thing.
He just writes down, just write Joshua.
Same thing. So we're gonna talk about life and video games, and we're gonna just hang out. You have podcast plural?
Yes, actually, like you can say that.
There's lots. I mean, it's like a universe. It's what do they call that? You know how they have the Marvel
the
Cinematic Universe?
Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, exactly. There's the Laughing Boy Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, the dialogue box. Yeah. Well, go for it. Twitch.tv, YouTube.com. You can always. I've got like 2 different shows depending on where you want to go. I've been streaming Dialogue Box lately on Twitch, and then I put the VODs on my YouTube channel. They used to just record without webcam, so now I'm just kind of doing sort of similar to what we're doing now.
Yeah. Do you like it better doing it live?
I do, because it requires less editing.
Yes. See, that's why I do it like this. Even though we're not live with this podcast, I do it basically like a live stream. Like, I record everything in OBS and just have like all the audio sources and everything going to the right place. And speaking of audio sources, I do want to make sure that your audio is actually coming through.
Is it?
On my thing. It is. Wow. I'm a professional.
I've been there.
So
there was one episode where I talked to myself for like 20 minutes.
Wait, what? Because Discord shut down or something?
No, it's because I didn't set it right in OBS. You know how it is.
Oh, so you weren't really talking to yourself, but you were talking to yourself.
I mean, I was talking to myself. If you were watching, then I was crazy.
We're all a little crazy, I think.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same podcast, really.
You've invited me on to your podcasts a few times now. And I started a podcast, and one of my first thoughts was, I gotta have Andrew on my podcast one day, because you've just been so nice, and you've actually given me a lot of podcast practice.
Really? That's interesting. It's weird to be on the other side of things. I'm used to doing the introductions.
Yeah, and
it's weird being introduced.
And you've sort of lightly inspired. I say lightly only because I've got multiple inspirations for this podcast. But you were inviting me onto your podcast, and I was talking a lot, and then John and Tom and Steven started a podcast, and then I was like, all right, I think it's time for me to have a podcast and a place to, I told this to Brooke a couple podcast episodes ago, but the thing I love about podcasts the most is that I'm going to be able to look back on this years later and just see all kinds of amazing conversations with my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting aspect to it. I think with this show, and with like the Disc Only podcast, it's more about conversations, which is very interesting to me because I can't think that obtusely, where I'm just kind of like, all right, once the camera's rolling, just say whatever.
Yeah. It's hard.
Like, well, like I have everyone on, and then I have the Discord group, and then I'll send the questions like a day or two early and be like, they might read this. Like, I'll just send the notes like as soon as I can, and then we'll do everything. But like there's structure, and then every now and then if I figure out like, oh, maybe I should ask a follow-up question to what they're just saying, like a podcaster would, then that might enhance the quality of my podcast. But it took a lot of like practice to go from like, if you look at my first. So I have Dialogue Box, that's like the more topic-based one, but then I have Let's Talk, which is the more interview-based one. And I bring on different content creators, and 5 years later, I post the podcast.
Good turnaround time. We'll work on it.
Thanks, everyone. It'll be out eventually.
I think you're doing a great job. So
I appreciate it. But it is funny. Like I've gotten really lucky sometimes where I've made a joke about like, oh yeah, you'll probably see this podcast in 2022, and it actually does come out that that specific year. And this was like 2 years before. So like the interview I did with Masay took like 4 years to just record.
Yeah. No, I saw because I was looking, because you posted an episode not too long ago. When was that?
Which one was that? Was that the one with the one? The Animal Crossing one?
Yes. And I went and I looked and I was like, oh man, yeah, this has been a thing for like a while with Masay here, and like other episodes as well. But no, like I think, listen, I think it's great. I think you're doing a great job. I know you have a day job, right? So timing wise, for when it comes to doing like content creation and podcasts, like this isn't your main thing. So timing wise, I can see it being a little bit difficult.
Yes.
Do you find it? What do you find the most challenging thing about doing podcasts?
God, how much time do we have? Like, you said we only have 40 minutes to an hour, right?
Let's see.
Sometimes it really depends, and it especially depends on the show. But I would probably say like, so with Let's Talk, it's more informational, and so what I intended to do was, back when I started, it was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't like, this wasn't easy to do, like with 2 different webcams, just going at it. My thought process was like, I can't guarantee that a person is going to have a good webcam in order to facilitate this. Like, I don't have a good webcam at the time. So the idea was, if I'm going to have an audio podcast on YouTube, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So what I wanted to do was have some kind of visual aid to show who's talking, and then intersperse it with little bits of video information based off whatever the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that in that show in particular, there have been times where I have scoured the internet to find a reference to something that somebody mentioned.
Wow.
Well, okay. So one of the things I always like to talk about is the time where you were at PAX East. And this was back when I was harassing you all the time about Croc. No, fuck, Gex. The other
Gex.
one. The other green lizard.
Not Croc, Gex. But, I can see where you were getting those two mixed up in your head there.
One says Kaboof, the other says Donner Party of 4. They're the same game, really.
Same thing.
They are the same game.
But yeah, PAX East.
So PAX East, and I talk about this story in another podcast episode. I think it was the one that you were, or no, it wasn't with you. We were just talking about different conventions, and I looked for like a week to find Steve and George's get together where that took place.
Wait, sorry, say that again. Where what happened at Steven's gathering?
So it was like the story is after weeks and weeks of me like being like, oh, Josh Jepson, the greatest like Gex fan there is. We spent like 6 months doing that, and then we show up at PAX East, and this is like the first time I think we've met in person.
Yes.
So we do our panel, whatever.
I love how our first meeting is. Let's immediately go and stand up on a stage in front of people and talk together. It was great.
No, it was great, and my favorite thing about it was like it reminded me of just being in class, like in high school, and you're the two kids in the back just like shitting around with each other, and then the teacher's just constantly just kind of staring at you, being like, "Can you please knock off?"
Yeah, we were the class clowns on that stage.
And
that was the Zelda Universe podcast, right?
Yeah, that's
or
how
not
I
podcast.
Knew. Yeah, it was a Zelda Universe panel. Yeah, so like Rosenberg's trying to keep the train going, and we're just like hitting each other on the side.
Like we were like half paying attention, so we like keep having to pull back to the conversation, and then like we would just like go off and just
exactly
shoot the shit over here. Well, shoot, we were on a podcast. Gerard was there, not podcast. I keep calling them the panels podcasts.
Yeah,
Gerard was there. And like Alex Rosenberg, and they were like trying to keep us all on track, and we were just shitting.
Yeah. This is the absolute best way to network with somebody as famous as Gerard the Finishist is to constantly dick around with somebody else when you're trying to pretend to be professional.
Oh, that's okay. The only thing I remember from that panel, because just to give you an idea of like the anxiety of an individual. The only thing I remember from that panel is the thing I said about, and no one remembers this, not a single soul but me. But I gave Gerard a hard time for using a guide on a game that he was completing. I made a joke, like an offhand joke about it, and he gave me a dirty look, but like as a joke. But I immediately afterwards I was like, yeah, this guy's whole job is completing a game a week. Like. Yeah, let's give the guy some slack for using a guide.
Let's give the guy a book if he needs it.
So I was sitting up there on stage. I was sitting up on stage like, oh God, I just said that. And like no one cares but me. But in my head, I'm like, oh, that's awful. Don't be like that.
Well, my favorite story is I think it's that, was it that same, it might have been that same year. Because I think Gerard was on 2 panels with us. Yeah. And he was really busy whatever year it was, and he shows up and he's like looking really tired, and we were just kind of like, are you okay? Like, have you eaten at all? And he goes like, no, I'm really hungry. And my girlfriend just has like, I have these mandarins. So like the story is that the first time I ever met Gerard is the time that my girlfriend fed him. And he was very grateful, and it was a very good time.
You made his day, I bet. He's like, He's like, I'm so busy. I'm meeting fans. I'm running around doing panels, doing stuff, meeting people at companies. Like dude, that's a busy dude.
It was that panel because we have the picture of all of us together, and I do the stupid gangster pose. It's somewhere on Facebook.
Dude, you're such a gangster.
No, I'm not.
That's the one word I would use to describe you. Yes, gangster.
Just sum me up in one word. Gangster.
Yes, gangster.
Yeah, gunk.
No, just gunk.
Yeah, gunkster. I actually no, that's a problem. Like I get allergies like nobody's business, so I wake up in the morning and I just cough for like an hour, and it's just getting stuff out of my system.
I hate that, dude. I have really bad seasonal allergies, and every spring, the second I step outside, my face explodes. So I feel that.
Yeah. Once you're 25, like you're just gross. Like
oh yeah. No, like I'm like sweating right now, just like talking to you. Like what is happening here?
No.
The older I get, the more sticky I get.
It gets worse.
Yeah,
it's just like
how old are you?
I think I saw like 32 in like a week.
Oh, a happy early birthday. 33.
At this point, I've gotten to the point where I don't even remember.
Yeah, just stop counting.
By the time this episode comes out, it's not late or it's not early anymore. So you can either say happy late birthday, happy birthday.
Oh, I guess. Wait.
Forgot.
Yeah. What? This comes out not Friday, but the Friday afterwards. So yeah, this will be after your birthday.
My birthday.
Wait, it comes out on your birthday?
Next Friday?
Wait, which Friday are you talking about here?
Well, not this Friday, right?
Okay, so this Friday would be we just gotta be semantic.
This Friday is the 13th. That's a bad day.
Bad day.
Next Friday.
So yeah, this podcast literally releases on your birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! That's actually really, really weird that it worked out that way.
Yeah.
I love that. Cool. Well, everybody go down to the comments
me.
section and leave a little, for the algorithm and say happy birthday for no other reason other than the algorithm, please. Thank you.
Yeah, praise the algorithm. There is no God, only algorithm.
Yes, only algorithm. Yes, all hail the overlord, the algorithm overlord.
Don Cheadle. So going back to that. So after the panel, Steve and George has a meetup, and I wasn't even going to be there. So I just want to say that first off.
Okay.
Like, I had. It's not that I didn't have any intention, but I wasn't feeling really hot that morning, and we decided to go to the food trucks to get food, and everything was taking place next to the food trucks. And so I'm just kind of like, you're kidding me. So, so we're right there, and I'm just trying to find a place to kind of sit down with my little waffle thing. That food truck, by the way, is the best one at PAX East. It's like a waffle truck.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's really good. There's almost no line because nobody wants breakfast at 2 in the afternoon.
I do.
Yeah, but all the other lines are 20 minutes. So just eat a waffle.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's
PAX. It's PAX. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Eat a hot dog?
Waffle? Yeah.
Or one of those soft pretzels in the hallway?
Or you go to National Pastime at MagFest and just get bad service.
Oh God, jeez. I'll never go back to MagFest, but not because of MagFest, but because of the food poisoning I got.
National Pastime?
No, it wasn't. But if it was, that would have been perfect. It was like some Irish pub or something, and I got a chicken pot pie or something, and it was not good. I mean, it was good. It tasted all right, but
I can't imagine not going back to a convention just because, I had a chicken pot pie outside of the convention once, and it was very bad.
Listen, it was so bad. I'm not stepping foot in Maryland. All right.
It depends on who you ask. It's either in DC or it's in Maryland, and it's in Maryland, and the only reason why I know that is because if your state license plate, what the hell? If your state license doesn't have the vertical to tell you that you're, or is it the horizontal? If it's not horizontal to tell you that you're over 21, they won't serve you any alcohol. I don't get that.
So even if your date says that
even if I was 25 before I could order drinks at National Pastime because I was too lazy to get a new license.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You update them once every 10 years.
It depends on the state.
Weird.
Apparently, if you live in Arizona, it's 50 years.
What?
Yeah.
How different
are
you gonna look in 50 years?
It's either Arizona or New Mexico. It's one of those two states in that area.
That's crazy.
But apparently their license expiration date is by the time you have to get it renewed, you probably shouldn't be driving anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just get an Uber.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so food truck,
so waffle time. Yeah, so I'm eating waffle, and I lock eyes with you, and you're just staring at me, and then you do the come hither motion, and I was kind of well, not the tickling the ivories, just the thing, all four. Okay, well, he's gone now. So you call me over, and I just walk up, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And you just go so this gentleman over here, because I guess a fan had walked up to you. He goes, this gentleman over here asked me if I'm ever going to play Gex on stream. And I turn over to look, and there you are. And I was like, it's 11 in the morning. I didn't plan this. I wasn't gonna take things that far. Just find some rando, just have a note, just
oh my God, that's actually incredible. Oh my God, what if you did do that and you're just trying to cover it up now?
No,
I don't believe you.
No, because if I did, I'd be proud of it. I would tell you.
That's true. Oh, you are horrible in that way.
You're just lying on your deathbed, and I'm just kind of I did tell the guy to ask you to play Gex.
That's how I go. Dude. So yeah, okay, for context on the Gex thing. So
Yeah.
So how long ago was that? It was for a while. But yeah,
like 4 years ago.
It became a running joke. How did it become a running joke exactly?
Because I'm stupid. So actually, no, it's me and my friends are stupid.
I remember now.
Years ago.
Yeah, go for it.
A couple of years ago, we had a block, my friends and I, on Zelda Universe TV, and we streamed every Friday night. And my friend just wanted us to play Gex 3, and I didn't really care. I think it was his copy, and so that night we just streamed Gex 3, and I was looking for somebody to raid, and you just happened to be raidable. Now there's context behind it where a long time ago, said friend who wanted to play Gex and I had this really stupid like joke between the two of us of what if we spread rumors about people that are harmless or positive, but just aren't true.
No. Okay, yeah, I got you though.
But like the idea would be like, what happens if you like get enough people to think that Robert Downey Jr. has doctorates in math, and like it gets to a point where like a reporter asks him about it, and he just goes, "I don't know who's been spreading this rumor about me, but it's not true." Like that kind of.
I keep hearing this thing about me and math, and I have no idea where it came from.
Yeah, no idea. So so the idea was our raid message was something like "Bring back Gex," and we sent it. You know, we did the raid. You literally just saw that "Bring back Gex." Like, didn't that game suck? And so my friend and I looked at each other, and we were just kind of like, I can't believe the biggest Gex fan in the world hates Gex. It makes no sense. And so we just kind of like did that. And for like a couple of months, I think it might have been the same year, like a month or so of just being really stupid on the internet turned into the fact that somebody just offhandedly wanted you to play Gex on stream, and it just was like,
that's like, perfect.
Just imagining all of a sudden he's not a fan of you anymore because you yelled at him before, like, who told you to do this? Who put you up to this?
Who set you up? Yeah, who put you up to this?
Not me.
Oh my god, that's such an amazing story. Just because like it just kept happening. It's just like, because you infected the internet with this Josh Gex thing, and then it became like a little thing on its own. People were like, "Yeah, you love Gex, right?" It happened a little bit.
Yeah, but then like you don't want it to be borderline bullying, and it was funny because I started talking. I told that story, and it was a dialogue box episode with me, Jared, 8-Bit Drummer. And it's two other people. I definitely know who they are. I just can't think of their names right now.
Yeah, well, and you've done enough. You've done a lot of shows and interviews and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it all blends together.
It's been a particular fun year this year because I've made a goal to specifically try to ask new people on every time.
Yeah, I keep seeing your tweets.
New people.
I keep seeing your tweets, like with upcoming people that you're talking to, and like you're just getting all kinds of fun people together, and you're really good about picking guests that work well with each other.
And that's completely by accident. But yeah, so I don't even remember why we were talking about that particular Gex story. Oh, right. To go back 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Go for it. You're good.
So anyway, I was trying to look for that footage for like a week and a half, and I could have sworn that it was already on YouTube. And it turns out that Steven never uploaded that VOD. And he uploaded the VOD a week after I posted my video.
Oh my god, no way.
And I seriously was like, you have to be effing kidding me. Like, what? I've been looking. That like thing where it's like, I've been doing this research for 6 months and he just tweeted it out. Like, that's how I felt.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my god.
Research is like the hardest thing, but that's only for that one particular show. I would say like editing is usually the hardest part in general because I'm always trying to do something new. And like one of the things that I always keep having to think about is like, what's the point? like I always ask myself, like, what's the point of doing that, or what's the point of having it? And that helps me kind of figure out, like, why would somebody want to watch a podcast where it's mostly audio? So by interspersing those little moments of every episode with the context, then it can kind of help people understand, like, oh, you know, they're talking about this game. I can visualize what this game is because I can see it on. Or maybe you just listen to it and you're not actually watching and you miss out on 50% of the content. But you know,
yeah, which is unfortunate. But you know, some people that's just the way that some people that's just the way that they operate. You know, they're putting on a podcast in the background, or they're driving, or you know, they're working out or whatever, and they're not fully paying attention. But I get what you're saying though, because excuse me, I had the same experience when I was starting this podcast. I did a couple episodes with guests without webcam, and it was just audio only. And yeah, that just doesn't work on YouTube, does it?
When I started doing Let's Plays, like, it was around the time that collab groups were starting to become more popular. And so I was like, you know, split the cost, have 3 other people with me at the same time. So 4 people are doing a Let's Play, and there's no way to tell who's talking. And apparently we all sound the same. So like one of the first feedback I ever got like 10 years ago on Let's Plays was, you all sound the same. There's got to be some way to tell you apart. And getting better microphones like definitely helped, and finding our own voices definitely helped. But that has stayed with me ever since. Like I've always thought about, like, how can I find a way? And so on the current episodes, like before I started doing webcam, I added just like sections where you can see who's talking, and it's usually done by showing audio waves when they talk. And that's just some After Effects magic that I figured out how to do in like a 20-minute Google search.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Actually, I thought about doing that for this podcast, but I'm not smart enough. Well, maybe I would be if I took this time to do it, I guess.
It's not too bad. Like there's actually a preset, and you just link it to the audio, and once you link it to the audio, then it just does it on its own. And that's why I ask for everyone's, like, I don't record the call. I ask for everyone's audio so I can do that.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. I like that. That's a nice touch. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out,
but this is better. Having webcam is better.
I do like having webcam, but there is the limitation of there's a couple limitations with webcam and podcasts, right? So like, your guest might not have one that looks really good. Your guest might not want to be on webcam.
Yep.
For a podcast, they might just want to be there to talk about stuff. They might not feel comfortable with themselves that day. You know, like there's a lot of factors going into like having people on the webcam. So I don't ever like say like you gotta be on webcam. I always say like whatever, if you want to do it, cool. If you don't, I'm just gonna put gameplay where your webcam would normally be. But I'm gonna be here, like whatever. I'll be the star of the show. Let's go. But I do prefer it. Podcast. Yeah, it's it's got my name on it twice. There's another one up there.
Well, and if you hear voices when I'm not speaking, it's clearly not me.
Right.
I hope you realize.
Yes. That was the same.
Mouth is not moving.
That was the same thing. Like that was what people told us when I was doing the TRG stuff way back in the day. They were saying that me and John sounded very similar, and they were having a hard time determining who was who. I hope by now that has all changed. I feel like we've all sort of the microphones have gotten better, and we all have better equipment, and I grew up a little bit.
Part of it again is like you find your own voice. Like I've gone back and listened to stuff that I recorded like 8 years ago, and it's very different. Like I kind of almost hate it. Like I hate listening to 22-year-old me to a degree. But
I get that.
And it all depends on the microphone. If everyone has their own microphone, it's much more clear to me. Like everyone has their own very clear audio coming through. And I think going back to like finding guests that work with each other, it's all by accident, but it's also, I would say, the guests themselves are probably the toughest part.
Oh, really?
Like, across the board, is probably the toughest part.
Like getting guests, or just like or picking them? Like is it or both?
It's the whole thing, the
whole package.
So, like, I don't mean it in a bad way. Like obviously, I'm incredibly thankful and lucky to have everyone who I've had on the podcast, either Let's Talk or Dialogue Box. Like I've been extremely lucky and thankful to have them on. But part of it for me is like I have that whole social anxiety thing that you kind of have to battle through, and reaching out to people for the first 2 or 3 years that I started doing it was the most difficult part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I completely relate with that too. Like that,
Yeah.
I mean, that is currently one of my biggest obstacles with this podcast is just reaching out to, like, just doing the thing. You know, I'm sure people would say yes, and even if they don't, whatever. But like, the act and thinking about it too much, and you overthink it, and you're like, "What is this even going to work? Do I want to talk to this person?
Well, and
do they want to talk to me?
Do I really want to talk to them? Okay, well, I mean, a lot of what I learned was that you have to have moments, like little moments of failure. Like I got extremely, so this all started because I went to MagFest because I knew TRG was going to be there, and it's in my backyard basically. Like I live near MagFest. I'm going to dox myself practically. I'm near.
You live in MagFest, actually. Like, go see him at MagFest. That's you only get to live inside.
I live here
once a year for a week or whatever.
Yeah, thanks for leaving all the money and food at the Danny DeVito shrine last year, because it's fed me. I've been well fed.
Yes, I'll have.
I very much appreciate it. I hope MagFest happens next year because I'm very hungry now.
Bow to our Lord Danny DeVito for feeding us. Thank you. Thank you.
Danny DeVito, Don Cheadle, and the Algorithm. That's a great indie band name, by the way.
I was going to say, that sounds like an album name or something.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, my God.
So I got really lucky because during that year, I think it was their first year at MagFest. So it was or at least it was their first. It wasn't their first year at MagFest. That was like 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was their first Throne controllers at MagFest.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
I went and I saw Throne controllers, and I was really inspired, like the night before, to try and actually do this thing that I've been thinking about doing, which was what turned out to be Let's Talk. And I finally get to talk to Emil, Massey, Tim, and John. And each one of them were very open and receptive. Like I remember shaking a lot when I first started talking to them.
Oh God, right? That's like the first. That's like, I feel that. I understand.
You want to do an interview, and it was weird because it was kind of like, you know how you always feel like you're gonna have, like, you're not gonna be that guy when you meet a celebrity for the first time, and this wasn't, this isn't even like a movie star celebrity, and I'm sitting here going like, I really hope you don't hate me.
I think it boils down to just wanting to be liked, by people in general. And like I have an example of where I kind of like was shaking and freaking out. And I'm not entirely sure why, because I'm not actually a huge fan of the people that I was meeting. So I was meeting the Yogs cast. All right. And I don't mind the Yogs cast. And at the time, it was many years ago, they were really huge. There still are, but I didn't really watch that much of their content. I just knew who they were and that they were huge and that I wanted to meet them. It was like, to this day, it was still probably my most awkward interaction with another human. It was so bad. I don't even know. I was just shaking and I couldn't speak, and I don't even know what I said at this point. So.
Well, and like the jitters. Well, I basically. I'm basically retelling a bunch of stories from this episode about conventions that I already did, but like
go check out that whole episode if you want to go see, like, learn more about the intricate details of the things. It's in the below pants area. There's nothing over there or over there.
It's where I keep all of my favorite podcasts.
In my pants. All right. Anyway.
In his pants. So the very first time I ever talked to Massey is to ask her if she, do you want to do this interview, like blah, 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 blah. And she, that sounds like a great idea. And, reach out to me after the convention and we'll totally set something up. And she's holding like a bunch of stuff that fans had gifted her. So the way that this worked was that, how normally they do fan meetups like after every Throne controllers. And normally they're in a room where they're like sitting at a table and everyone kind of does the conga line to tell their stories, get things signed, look at me and be like, I don't know what the hell you're doing here, and then walk away. Which I wish I could say like is not true, like is a joke, but I've had that.
God.
So anyway, but this time they were doing the meetup in the hallway, and I think it's because their first MagFest they couldn't get a room, and usually they kind of are finding a room that night to go in with staff.
Yeah.
So they're out in the hallway, which gave me the opportunity to go talk to them and do the whole thing. And so she's holding like all of these like gifts that people have given her, and my friend who was kind of there-ish for emotional support noticed that she's holding like a picture of I think it was like Espeon, I think. And he just goes like, oh well, you know, like Glaceon or Leafeon is better. Like he kind of interrupts the conversation and says like that one of them is the better like EV Lucian. And she just kind of like looks at him and is just sort of like, oh, this was like a gift from a fan. And I was like, well, I guess this is it. Like, I could either pretend that I don't know you, but we still have to get dinner later.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Man.
So that was I won't forget that. Like obviously.
Right. Yeah.
So.
People.
But
never mind. I lost my train of thought with that, but.
But I think like the thing with this is that, and the only reason why I'm telling this story is because I had that conversation with them at that MagFest in like 2015 or I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
It still took 2 years ish to actually get any work done. So I went from 2015 MagFest to 2016 ish, and I finally like start to work on these episodes and do these recordings. And Tim was first because he responded really quickly. He was really happy to do it.
Tim is great.
Emil and Massey just took a while to get like to do the correspondence. And I think the most interesting part of it with me and Massey is that we started in like 2016. We ended in 2019. And it was just due to scheduling conflicts. And so that's another difficulty point.
But you did it.
Yeah.
But you did it, and it got done, and it was probably good. And so
it was probably good.
So
but what I'm trying to I get at is like that difficulty of the guests in general is what I'm trying to say is like there are certain things that you have to kind of get over. There were parts where I felt like, you know, do they not like me, and they just like were pretending to be nice, like, and that kind of prevails. Like it's a social anxiety problem where you want people to like you and you want to be a likable person, but you're never quite sure what that looks like. And so I spent years trying to get this thing done, but also, you know, you are trying to do it in a way that builds that networking. And all of that was to try to get myself out from where I was before. Like I am not a very assertive person. And technically I'm introverted. I don't sound like it sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean you're good with conversation. You can keep it going. You're friendly.
I can talk a lot.
So like
it's a problem.
Same.
But before you hit the start, you know, button, I'm just kind of like, yeah, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go and play video game. Like I don't go out of my way to reach out to people. It's very difficult for me to reach out to people and be like, hey, do you want to play like Mario Kart or Pokemon Unite? And so being able to kind of do these things is a way for me to finally practice that, but knowing that nothing about it is personal.
Yeah, nothing. If somebody doesn't want to be a part of your thing, and you should never feel that they hate you or that they don't even really want to be a part of your thing. It might just be that they don't feel up to it that day. You know, come back to it later. You know, talk to them. Just get to, you know, have a nice conversation and like work it. You know, it's like. Yeah, sometimes it's just the day. Like, for example, today I recorded a podcast and I did a live stream, and now we're doing another podcast. And, you know, when you do a lot of stuff back to back to back to back to back, sometimes you over schedule yourself. And I find that that's just so common with other content creators. is just you overschedule yourself and you're just like, I gotta cancel something, you know, like I gotta find something that I need to take a break again, like, so you can never take it personally because it's like, it could happen to anybody.
It could happen to anybody, and it's never a thing where it's like, I hate you, go away.
Right.
I mean, it all depends on how you act. Like, really, that is why I would say, like, all across the board, like, the guest aspect is the hardest part for me. Because try not to take it personally. Try not to get too emotionally, like, absorbed. Like, you're too absorbed in your own emotions to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I've just had problems where I've just shut down because I feel like I've upset somebody.
Yeah. Been there.
So, and trying to coordinate a bunch of people together. And like you were saying earlier, like, trying to find people that work together, A, has been about luck, but B, trying to find people that are right for the topic.
Right, that too. Yeah. Because, like, if you get somebody who doesn't know about the game you're doing, it's not going to work out. I think I find it funny that it's basically been entirely by luck that you've gotten guests together that work well together, because, like, it's just weird. It clicks. I find that every single one clicks. Like, all the people, they're so good together. Like, we did one with it was Yumi and Misei and John, I think.
Yeah. And that's actually,
it's a great group.
So I really like that group because it's not a group that you normally see together.
Mm-hmm. It's true, but we all know each other, and we know each other really well, and we all can have a great conversation together. But it's just not. We don't do a lot of actual content together. Besides, like now TRG Coliseum's a thing, so I'm in that. But prior to that, there wasn't really a lot. And you're right. Like it makes for an interesting dynamic, I think, when people don't really get to see that very often. Those behind the scenes dynamics that are just kind of tucked away.
And that's what I find really fun. Is to see those dynamics take shape. There have been times. So the Animal Crossing episode is actually a really good example. So I pulled up a bunch of people on Twitter initially, and then I kind of reached out to others, and I was kind of like, hey, who still plays Animal Crossing, and what has kept you going, or did you fall off? And I got a lot of responses, but I picked some people who it's like, I've never had this person on my show. I've never worked with this person before. So I had Forrest Minish, Nintendo Fangirl, Misei, Donna Bells, and me. It was a 5-people one. I've never done a 5-person one before. And all 4 guests were people that, besides Misei, I've never had on my show or anything before. But not only that, Misei's never worked with them before. So Misei's never really met anybody. I don't know who from that group has actually ever met anybody before or worked with each other before. It was a totally new group, and seeing everyone just kind of mesh together. And I was talking to Misei about it afterwards, and she was also kind of like talking about how she felt like whether or not she was being too much, or whether or not she was like one of the things is like, if she starts like acting out and making and like teasing me or making fun of me during the podcast, it's because she's like feeling nervous. And I was kind of like, no, it's great content because I'll just tease you back. But then it creates this like really interesting dynamic where I got to see how somebody felt afterwards from the show, where they were like, I was really nervous to talk to these people because I know who they are, but I've never worked with them before.
It just goes to show you that we all kind of have a similar mindset in the way that, especially content creators, specifically people who are actually actively making content, because I find that those people specifically are the ones that are the most anxious when they make content.
I resonate.
They care.
And I resonate with you and Misei a lot, because a lot of it is just this idea of trying to get away from these things that we would want to better for ourselves. Like, I don't reach out to people. I don't typically hang out with people. I prefer people reaching out to me because it's like some sense of validation of that they like me.
Yeah.
But now that I'm doing the show, I have to reach out to people. I have to practice getting other people's attention and saying, hey, do you want to hang out with me? Do you want to talk about video games with me for, an hour or 2 hours? And some people will say yes, some people will say no. I have to get used to that.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like with Masay as well, it's kind of like trying to get out of our own shells and experience more social interactions and doing that immersion therapy.
I tried to do something similar with a bunch of years ago. I want to say it was 2013. This was right around the time that Animal Crossing. Which one was that? New Leaf. That's the one. I almost said New Horizons. That's the new one. New Leaf came out, and Nintendo at the time had asked me to promote it. I was like doing with the Nintendo and like ambassador program or whatever at the time. And my idea for the video was I was going to do like a man on the street kind of interview type video, but about Animal Crossing, and then it evolved into about just cities in general and like what would you change in your city. And I didn't realize until I was physically on the street holding a microphone in front of people's faces just how unprepared I was for that. I was unprepared, not just for the immediate and visceral no, I don't want to talk to some stranger on the street, but also I didn't have any like real questions or anything set up ahead of time. I was just like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll go out there and I'll just talk to some people and it'll be fine. And it was awful. It was so bad. Actually, the most successful, and I got, it would have been so perfect if I was actually prepared, because I got to I had somebody walk up and they were with a child. And I was like, this is the thing that Nintendo wants. That's the core demo. They want me to talk to a child about Animal Crossing. And so that's what I was attempting to do. So I asked the parents, of course, and I asked the child if they would like to do an interview about a video game or whatever. And I pointed the microphone at the kid and I said, so if you were the mayor of Seattle, what city ordinances would you put in place? That was my question. That was the only question.
You had one more than one syllable word in there, and I think that's where you went wrong.
And then I tried to fix it by like sort of trying to figure out how to explain to a child what a city ordinance was. And then the child, I don't remember what exactly they said, and I don't think I have any footage or anything of it, but it was it was actually a really fantastic response. I just remember it being good, and that I just needed to come up with question number 2, and that was it, and I couldn't. And so I was like, well, that's it. Thanks for helping me with my video. Bye. And then I went and cried in the food court.
You just like walk away going, not a weirdo. Just let you know.
I'm not weird. I promise. So that's my experience with rejection practice.
But you have I wouldn't ask anybody to look for those experiences on purpose, but these are the things that you have to do in order to like get better. We all want to be perfectionists, and I still have that problem with me today, but having those moments where you just got to get something out, and you're never going to like the first thing that you release anyway, so what's the matter?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Get it, do it, put it out, move on to the next thing. That's what I say.
Exactly.
Do it, practice, especially at first. Like, that's the first thing you got to do. Just keep doing it.
Well, like, my episode 1 is never going to look as good as my episode 50, because there's going to be changes in technology anyway. So, and I'm going to get better equipment someday. So,
and iterative changes on top of that. Yeah.
So just get it out. And that was the thing where it's like, it's such a cliche answer when people are just kind of like, what do you do? What do you tell people who are struggling to like get a start? And it's kind of like, I have nothing else to tell you except to just do it.
It's also like, the only thing that's like, I feel like that's like one of the only things that doesn't change with time is it's always going to be the first thing, just do it. Right.
Yeah.
But other aspects of it will change. Like, for example, 10 years ago, it was not Streamlabs, OBS, not really. That wasn't really much of a thing, if anything.
No.
Like live streaming game, that was hard to do. And so like people ask me now, it's like, how do I get into Twitch streaming? And I'm like, dude, listen, when I started, you physically could not do this.
I spent like 2 months looking up a capture card because the ones that were on the market, unless it was a Dazzle, you couldn't record like earlier systems than a GameCube. Like nothing would read it. And I really wanted to play Super NES games. So I spent like 2 months on my own just researching what would work. And it's so different just 8 years later. Like it's completely different. I have systems. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is a Super Nintendo that uses an HDMI cable. Like, I don't need
technology.
Yeah, like everything is so much easier and so much better now.
Oh,
so
God.
like it's not, and I'm not trying to say it from a perspective of like you have no excuse, but don't take for granted the resources that are out there now. Like my show is almost obsolete at this point because all the questions I could possibly ask is a quick 20-second Google search.
Yeah.
Like what microphone should I use?
Yeah. So if that's your goal too, like if your goal is to share information about what's going on with like how to do your thing, then like that shit's gonna be obsolete in a year. Like there's gonna be so many things that like change just in that first year with the technology and microphones and capture devices and programs and all this stuff. And so like when people ask like, how do I get into streaming? How do I get into podcasting? How do I get into YouTube? Yeah, it's different in 2021 than it was in 2020 and then it was in 2019. Well, it's gonna be different every year.
Well, and understandably, some of the technology behind like the cool stuff you want to do, like custom donation bars and slide transitions, like you need to either know somebody who knows how to do it and you just pay them to do it, or you do have to kind of learn a little bit. But like other than that, just getting the game hooked up to a capture device, getting the capture device hooked up to your PC, and just hit record or stream, like that part that took us so long to figure out. Like we were doing camcorders and like phone camera recordings of DS games, like that stuff is so much easier these days that it like all you have to do is just like go look for it and figure it out. And
it's even easier now because like some consoles even just stream straight to Twitch.
Yeah,
with a webcam and a mic. Like you can just do full on streams and commentary from your PS4 or 5.
Yeah.
So
and that's the other thing too. Like we all think we have to have these like amazing layouts and we have to have this perfectionist mindset of what it's going to look like. But I've seen streams pull so many numbers and they just do like forget the Jepson podcast overlay you have right now. Some people just do the Discord call, full screen capture, and then they just go and they're making bank. Like your quality doesn't matter. The idea behind having it perfect the first time doesn't matter, but it's having a voice and having the confidence to know that at some point it's going to get better. So just have fun. Confidence. And people are just going to come to you. It's a tough thing. I don't know how cursing works on this show.
Fuck it.
Okay. So it's really fucking terrible, but we always want to do it right the first time. Like a lot of us probably, and especially when you see other people that you want to follow, like these are people that have done it for years and have figured out some new cool stuff. But just kind of go out there, fail even.
Yeah.
Keep failing, and then eventually you'll figure out what works for you. And I know the algorithm does not help. Twitter does not help.
Let's be clear about the algorithm here, right? The algorithm ain't favoring nobody anymore. It maybe once upon a time I
didn't mean to say it's him. I didn't say this.
Yeah.
No, Mr. Al. Or is it Mr. Rhythm?
Mr. Rhythm? I'm not even sure who that is.
Mr. Rhythm. Yeah. Algae Rhythm. It's the villain from Space Jam. The new Space
I've never
Jam.
seen Space Jam.
Well, don't.
I heard the new one was garbage, and I heard the old one was also still garbage.
I mean, I think the wizard looks at Space Jam: A New Legacy and goes, "Wow, that was an hour-long ad."
Okay, that's fair.
Look, corporate shill's gonna shill.
Yeah.
Please buy HBO Max.
Oh God, HP. Listen,
is that how we want to go off on this?
Can we end this podcast on a rant about how many goddamn subscription services and how they all end with like plus or max for some reason? Like,
yeah,
they're like really like trying to like throw it home. Like, this is everything you want.
Hey, look, YouTube is a premium. So
it used to be red.
It did used to be red.
You red.
We have to change it.
YouTube. Red YouTube.
We
red
probably...
to...
I wonder what that is, actually. Let me go look it up real quick.
No, maybe not.
You said cursing was fine, so I just assumed
not. Yeah.
Visual represent. They need the visual representation.
Cursing is good.
Okay.
Cursing is fine.
I need to know the context of fuck. How else do I end? Like, is that a good end?
Yeah.